Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the OMB Report Live. Thank you all for joining today. This is the channel where I look at the news in both a critical and a cynical fashion from a Catholic independent perspective. And yes, indeed, I did click the wrong button and showed up live before the intro played. But that is how it goes sometimes when doing this through OBS. But thank you very much for being here today, everybody. We are streaming live over on the YouTube channel, OMB Report. And of course, we are also over on Odyssey because, as we have seen from what has been going on with Az on Twitter and now Gary on Twitter, these massive social media platforms do not care about freedom of speech. They also do not care to do any research either. Because if Twitter had just done one iota of research into the tweet that was sent by Az that got him permabanned, yes, that is the current update. Az has been permabanned from Twitter, which is why if you try and find his profile by doing a basic search, it will not show up. If you see anything where he is tagged, you can still click on it and it'll say that this account has been suspended for breaking the terms and conditions, apparently because it was calling for violence, even though, as I was mentioning, if they had just done one iota of research, they would have known that all Az did was quote from a mega popular best-selling book series and, for a long time, a well-reviewed, well-regarded television series. The biggest television series, in fact, for a very, very long time in Game of Thrones. But that would, of course, require Twitter to do some research, which we know now more than ever before that they just don't do, and they just do not care. But yes, right now the update is this. Az has been permabanned on Twitter for quoting from a book/television series. Literally all he did. Quote from a book/television series. And Gary has been suspended for 7 days. So Gary has not been permabanned, but Gary has been suspended for 7 days, which, if you know anything about Gary, you should know that for Friday Night Tights, the primary way that we communicate with one another for Friday Night Tights, getting all of the stories that we want to cover together, getting all the links sent with each other, is through Twitter, is through Twitter DM. So him being suspended for 7 days, literally just explaining the situation, saying and giving context to why Az was banned, caused Gary to be suspended. So again, apparently quoting from a well-known book, a best-selling book, and a best-selling series on HBO, apparently that can now get you either permabanned or suspended. All Gary did was explain. All he did was explain what was going on with Az. That's all he did, was explain what was going on with the situation with Az. 9 hours ago, he said, just spoke with Az. His appeal was declined and his ban from Twitter is permanent. That is what he said. And then in some responses, I believe he also went into further detail explaining why it is that he was actually permabanned, going into a little bit more detail. I'm trying to see if they actually shared any of that information in our chat before he got suspended. But one thing that you can do if you want to support Az, if you love Az, if you think that he is freaking hilarious, is, of course, to support him on Instagram, which is where he's been wanting to move anyway. I just posted a link to his Instagram in the chat. That's where he's been wanting to move anyway. He has over 3,000 followers there now, and he actually has the image that was sent to him by Twitter for the post that got him suspended. So the post that got him suspended, which again, he is covering a news story and quoting from a well-known series, an incredibly well-known series. And because Gary decided to try to explain the situation, they decided to permaban. No, sorry. Let me correct that. For Gary, they decided to suspend him for 7 days. So his account is frozen for 7 days because he decided to share what was going on with the situation. But anyway, that is the current update for anyone that is wondering. Also, if you are watching on YouTube or Odyssey, let me know if there's any ever major drops in the video or in the audio, because I'm trying something different. There's actually this free plugin that allows me to add Odyssey as a platform. And if this is working well, it would mean that I would be able to get rid of the subscription that I have with Restream, because the only reason why I even really have that at this point is because it allows me to stream to Restream without doing anything crazy. But this is actually a very simple solution, and luckily my computer is able to handle it. So again, if there's any issues like that, please let me know. Other than typical issues, if you typically have issues with YouTube streaming or Odyssey streaming or anything like that, obviously don't worry about talking about that necessarily, but anything major, please let me know in the chat. We have Matthew Highland in the chat over on YouTube. What is going on? Hound 3000 was here first. Elizabeth Lyons, yeah, so he was not permabanned. So again, Az has been permabanned from Twitter. Of course, we are all reaching out to Twitter support. I am in a lot of ways trolling them because I don't believe that they will do anything. I don't believe that they're going to fix anything because I don't believe that they believe in free speech. I don't believe for one iota that they respect anyone's point of view except for their own. And they don't want to admit that they're wrong. And my guess would be if they did give Az a chance to come back, what likely would happen would be they would tell him, oh, you have to delete that tweet to get back. And at this point, I think Az would say, hey, I've been wanting to leave this platform for a very long time. You've just given me the ability to do so. You've also given so much attention to this, or allowed me to focus so much attention on this, that now a lot of people are following me over on Instagram. And obviously, I'm sure he might be looking into other social media platforms as well. So why would he want to come back? Why would he want to come back to the platform? That is the real question. Yeah, Hound 3000, absolutely, definitely getting much worse. It's always been pretty bad over there, but the fact that Az is getting banned simply for quoting, again, all he did, the crime he committed was he quoted a well-known, popular book and television series in Game of Thrones. And I agree. Fudge Twitter for sure. Fudge Twitter for sure. One of the best times in my life was during Lent this year when I gave up Twitter. It was a beautiful thing. And after I got back, I was able to find an extension that actually blocks the trending area on Twitter. And that has also made my life that much better. But obviously, things are still bad because they're still permabanning people. They're still suspending people for nothing. Remember, this is the same organization that will ban you or suspend you or give you a 7-day suspension for, quote, misgendering people. And then at the same time try and say that, oh, we don't have a political ideology, even though if you talk to anyone who's going to be honest, you know that that whole conversation is very much ideologically driven, and this is something that even Tim Pool pointed out, that clearly Twitter has taken a side in that political discussion, and their rules reflect that. Anyway. Yes, thank you, Matthew Highland. So I decided to have a different intro song for the OMB report. I personally like it. JKDBuck76 has never liked it because it is indeed a free song that I got from the YouTube library. And I agree. I think there's probably better songs out there, but I actually kind of like it. Andrew Hoyle, hello, hello. Matthew Highland, good morning. Elizabeth Lyons, hello, hello, hello. Bruce, what's going on? Says, this is live. I thought I had just clicked on a video. No, this is indeed live. Hound 3000, good morning, good morning. Felbrig's video says, Odin is God. Also a news reporter. At least once a week. I talk about news and politics. Obviously, it comes up every now and then in the mainstream over on OMB Reviews as well. But I wanted to have a channel and a day, especially over the summer, to dedicate specifically to this. Obviously, there's other news stories that I could talk about, but this is pretty big because this is affecting people that I'm friends with. This is affecting people that I care about. And even though Az is going to be fine, you know, this is not going to have really any negative impact on Az, it does cause disruption because now Az can't communicate with us in the group chat. Of course, Gary's going to be able to contact him in other ways. And I'm sure we'll be looking into alternate ways of staying in contact with each other if this continues. But it does impact Az in the ability to share videos, the ability to talk to followers and subscribers, because whether we like it or not, one of the things that we have to recognize is that a lot of people still use Twitter. And that's the reason why I still have a presence on there. Now, I've mentioned that I have a Minds account for a while. I love Minds because Minds is not just a social media platform, it's also a video hosting service too. So not only can I upload videos there, but I can also social post there as well. Haven't been as active on their social posting, but I still am indeed posting my videos. And obviously, some people are on Gab. Obviously, some people are also defending Parler. I think Parler is dead, personally. I just have never liked Parler. The way that you have to sign up for it is kind of just weird. The sign back in is bizarre. And then also, it's just the way to get verified. I don't really trust it. Personally, that's just my own take on that. But I do have a presence on Gab. I do share links as much as I can on Gab as well. So I try and put myself on multiple platforms. I also have an Instagram, of course, and I've been trying to upload initial reviews when I finish watching videos or when I finish watching movies. I've been trying to be more active on the Instagram page. So Az is going to be fine, but this isn't about whether or not Az is going to be fine or not. This is about freedom of speech and the fact that Twitter messed up. The fact that Twitter clearly made a massive mistake. Because you should not be banned. You should not be suspended like Gary. So again, Gary was suspended for 7 days on Twitter. Let alone you shouldn't be perma-banned from Twitter like Az was because he had previous offenses for simply quoting a book / TV series. That's well known by many. Good morning, Thanatos Felicitas. Hello, hello, hello. Andrew Hoyle says, boom, Odinmer. Yeah, exactly. Slight boomer moment there. 52 movies a year says, there's a tweet that once you see it, your account gets suspended after 7 hours. Is that true? If you just watch it? Interesting. And yes, absolutely, Minds Baby is the way to go because their process is actually really good. Because if someone reports your tweet or if someone reports your Minds post, what they do is they get the community together. They get a random group of members of the Minds community to look at it in context, and then they vote. Which is such a better system because you're more likely going to get proper, correct results from a community-based solution rather than a top-down approach using bots, using single people who want to make a name for themselves or want to shut down speech because they don't like it. But yeah, JM Cruz, absolutely. Twitter is as whole, as it says right there. Az is awesome. Friday Night Tights will not be stopped. No, it will not. It will not at all. We could do that. Well, obviously, all of us have, I know that most of us have a Discord server, and there's a Friday Night Tights section on Gary's server especially that is pretty awesome. Has a lot of different pages on it. So yeah, again, Az will be fine. We'll still be able to communicate. There's going to be alternate ways for us to be able to communicate with each other, but that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it justifiable. Karen Naropa Baker says, too bad Az and Gary aren't jihadists. That's fine on Twitter. Yeah, you can be a part of a terrorist organization. You can be a part of a government that spreads misinformation, and yet you can't quote from a book or TV series. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Again, you can be Chinese propagandist on Twitter, and that's totally fine. But if you say, I'm trying to see who said what he said, so that way I can put it up on the screen. But anyway, all he said was like men should die. All men should die, which is a translation of, was it Valhar Morghulis, which is from Game of Thrones. So all he did was say the translation of that, which again, from the book series, TV series, is something that most people know, and a quick Google search or DuckDuckGo search or any type of search would show you. But that is what got him permabanned. That is what got him permabanned. Bro Rock, what's going on? Quoting the Bible will get one suspected as well by Twitter due to their satanic beliefs. I haven't seen that personally as far as Bible quotes getting people suspended or permabanned, but it wouldn't surprise me if it has happened. I just haven't seen it personally myself. Yeah, he got suspended for 7 days for explaining the situation. Matthew Highland says, at least Twitter is going to the defense of men. I kind of found that funny. Yeah, I guess in a certain way you could say, hey, they're defending men. I guess are they now saying men are an oppressed class because of the fact that he happened to say all men should die? Even though, again, it's quoting a book series. Twitter bans but the leadership for Hamas gets to use Twitter, exactly. But yeah, Blake St. Clair, absolutely, as is indeed a model. He is indeed an Instagram model, for sure. Remember to smash that like button if you're watching over on YouTube, and to light up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey. I'm going to get to the Odyssey chat in a second, but also please make sure that you put @Odin at the beginning of your comment if you're watching on either platform to let me know that you want me to highlight your comment, or in the case of Odyssey, since I cannot do that yet, at least be able to read the comment out loud. Anyway, Chris Mead, welcome. Gomer Kyle 79, welcome. Chris Mead, welcome. Let's see, Zexers, welcome. Glad to see you here. Argo Sloof, welcome. Orange at Reviews, welcome, good sir. Glad to see you in the chat. JKDBuck76 says, these big tech oligarchs, some of whom helped fund the Wuhan solo lab in that one country, are silencing us for wrong think and wrong speak. Orwell warned us. Yeah, that's the most interesting thing to me as well, is when it comes to freedom of speech, they silence a lot of people for saying things that we knew at the time to be true, and now publicly everyone knows to be true. And yet I guarantee you Twitter will not go back and take away any of the strikes they gave, take away any of the permabans that they gave to said accounts for sending and talking about that information. Or retroactively giving bans or giving suspensions to mainstream media outlets that said it was all fake news. Can't have that. Jeremy Swiggs, welcome. Jam Cruz, thanks for tagging me, says, as and Gary didn't do anything wrong, and McAfee didn't kill himself. Yeah, that's another major story going on right now. Though, I will say, I've not done enough research on that specific issue. It would not surprise me, of course, if they went after him, if they went after McAfee. But wasn't he also kind of crazy as well? And did a lot of drugs? I don't know. That's the one thing where I'm like, I don't know about that one. I don't know enough about it. Laura, mod on the channel. Thank you very much, Laura. The mod and Major General should have planned their Star Wars story. Great name there, of course. Thank you very much for being here. All righty, let us see. Remember, put @Odin at the very beginning of your comment if you're watching on any of these platforms. Dan Cruz, thank you. Says, still wondering why Jack is still not in jail after the stuff he's been doing. Big tech is getting too powerful at this point, and need to be boycotted. The big thing going on right now with Twitter that's not getting nearly enough attention is they're being sued because Twitter allowed for pornography of a minor to be posted, spread around, and it took them a very long time to actually catch it and do anything about it. So that's going on right now. And I think there's a very good chance that the court case does a lot of monetary damage, at the very least, to Twitter. And there's a lot of other cases going on with that right now too, which is, again, disgusting. But yeah, you can post that kind of stuff. You can post pornography. You can post Chinese propaganda. You can post terrorist propaganda and be a terrorist organization and have an account. But if you are as of the Heel versus Babyface YouTube channel and you quote a movie, TV series, whatever, and it just so happens to be against whatever rules they have set, and you don't want to do the research to actually look at the context of what's going on, yeah, you can get canceled, apparently, which is absolutely ridiculous. Gomer Kyle says, Az was happy about it last night, and Ryan's wrong about your room. It's clean. No, it's not. My room is not clean at all. It's pretty dirty. It is pretty dirty. Matthew Highland says, dude, this McAfee thing is crazy. It seems like he's been avoiding the U.S. for a while now. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with him being out of the country because I think he was trying to avoid paying taxes, which, hey, don't blame him for that at all. Jeremy Swig says, free speech is only provided to those by these platforms that believe that they should be free. Also forgot to tell you that you complete me. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy Swiggs. Appreciate that. Orange Eye Reviews says, Twitter's double standard is trash. Look what happened to me. Not necessarily the same thing, but if there was a double standard, I wouldn't have lost my primary account. Forgot to tag. No problem at all, Orange Hat. Appreciate you for being here. Let's head over to the Odyssey fam. Again, shout out to the Odyssey fam. Thank y'all for joining me today. And again, let me know on Odyssey especially if there's any major issues. You know, obviously minor hiccups in the stream are one thing, but if there's any major issues with the stream, let me know. I'm trying something a little bit different this morning. But anyway, make sure you light up that fire button over on Odyssey. Just my thoughts. Welcome. And yeah, Gary got suspended last night. Megazord Jeremy, good night. Or rather, sorry, good morning to you. You guys always have Minds to replace Twitter. Again, I've been on Minds for a long time. You've got Minds, you got Gab, you got Discord, you got plenty. You have a plethora of other platforms, all tech platforms. I like the ones that are based in crypto, like Minds, because you can actually monetize over there, and it's not much, but hey. I was looking into, apparently now there's a tab now on Twitter where it's like monetization, and I'm looking into it. I'm like, why would I charge people to see my tweets? Like, they have this new thing there called Spaces, and it's the same concept. It's like, why would I make someone pay Twitter for a ticket fee to listen to me speak? Like, I wouldn't go that route. If I was going to offer that kind of content, I would offer it through Patreon or Subscribestar or something like that. I wouldn't offer it through Twitter. I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird to me that's the way they do it. Let's see. Megazord Jeremy says, I bet Twitter is the CIA mind control experiment that the urban legends keeps talking about over the decades. I don't know about that necessarily. I do know that they've even admitted this fact, that they know exactly how to trigger people. They know exactly how to trigger people. They can influence elections. They've even said this. I think it was Mark Zuckerberg, actually, for Facebook said, oh, yeah, we know algorithmically how to sway your emotions, how to make you feel any which way, and how to control, obviously, information. We saw that very prominent in the most recent election with them quashing and squashing stories that were completely true but happened to go against any narrative that they wanted to push. So we already know that they do it. We already know that that is something that they will completely push. Just my thoughts said Spaces sounds a lot like Locals. Well, the difference is that Spaces is based in, like, it's built into Twitter. The Salty Nerd podcast, shout out to them. They've been using it to let people for free, because you can do Spaces for free as well, listen in on their podcast live, raw, unedited, as they're recording it, which is a pretty cool thing. But yeah, Locals offers a lot of that too. I'm on Locals technically. I don't have any subscription set up there yet. Because they don't offer the ability to charge because for me, I like the fact that on Patreon and Subscribestar, whichever one you want to go with, I can have the $1 charge. That you can't go down to that minimum on locals. And so that's why I've kind of stayed away from it, because I probably could do my Army of Asgard, Keeper of the Bifrost, and Chosen of Valhalla levels over there and let everyone have the similar and same access to it. But at that time, too, it's also I don't want to make too many platforms. That's the other issue that comes up with this, is that everyone has a different platform that they use. Everyone has a different platform that they support for a wide variety of reasons. And the problem that comes up, and the thing that obviously that we want to make sure that we can avoid, is that we don't want to fall into the same trap of potentially spreading ourselves too thin. Because that would, of course, not be a good thing. That would not be a good thing. Hold on, let me see if I can refresh this bad boy. Because I had the wrong account up here. Hold on, let me pop this out. Let me change this up real quick. Because then it'll actually show up for me. But I can't actually paste it. Oh, is it because it's probably because the screen's being shared right now, if I had to guess. Let me hide it. Now can I do it? What? What do you mean I can't do it? This is ridiculous, I say. All right, well then, what I will do then is I will pop it out again. Sorry, everybody, I'm being like old man Gary right now, and I just can't help myself. That is much better. That looks fantastic. That looks absolutely fantastic. Yes, indeed. All right, that is much, much, much better. Megazord Jeremy says, Big Tech is like real-life version of the kaiju from Pacific Rim. The Phantom Menace need a Jaeger to fight Big Tech. Okay. Gotcha. Anyway, let's head back over to my YouTube fam. Make sure y'all smash that like button, light up that fire button over on Odyssey as well. Does mean a lot. And again, if you have a comment or question on either platform, please make sure to put @Odin. Matthew Highland. Let me go ahead and unhide that. There it is. Since Twitter is part of the topic, did you see John Boyega isn't verified anymore? I did not see that. That's interesting. Did he make any comments about it? Because obviously I could totally see someone choosing to be unverified. And if anyone would, I could see John Boyega being one of those persons that would be like, meh, I don't want this anymore. I don't need this platform like that anymore, etc. But obviously I would not be surprised if it was something that was not his choice at all. But no, I did not hear about that. That's interesting. Very interesting. Jeremy Swig says, or we can just mail large checks to your P.O. box because Baby Thor needs a chariot power wheel. This is all very true. This is all very, very true. On my website, OMB Reviews, there is a donate section, and it shows you all the different ways that you can donate. You can donate directly via PayPal. I always push people to the Streamlabs link, because in Streamlabs, you can donate just like you can with Super Chat, but YouTube doesn't get a dime of it. And I know, again, people are used to various things, and I don't want to take away anyone's ability to do whatever it is that they want to do, but those options are there. I do like giving options to people. I learned my lesson in trying to control what people do, because at one point on my main channel, I actually disabled the Super Chat feature, and it was not a good move on my part. Because it was done with the right intention of saying, screw you, YouTube, I don't want you getting any more money. Because, again, Super Chats, YouTube gets 30% of every single Super Chat. They get also a cut of memberships as well, and tons of other stuff. At least with Twitch, even though they also get a cut of memberships, and it's like 50-50 split, if you give any like bits or donations, you get like almost 100% of those donations. That's like the only good thing about Twitch. But then you have to exclusively stream there if you get to that point anyway. So it just has always been kind of weird and ridiculous. But yes, theoretically, you could also send, in the case of Bruce, Bruce has sent actual cash to the P.O. box. Oh, man. And if anyone's wondering why the OMB Report channel on YouTube doesn't have the Super Chat feature, it's because I was demonetized for my news coverage during the 2020 election. So it's not that I turned it off on OMB Report, it's that it got demonetized. So hopefully I can reapply for monetization. We'll see if they'll actually allow it at this point, but it wouldn't surprise me. Orange Eye Review says, so what did Gary say? Did he just explain it or say something else that may have triggered Twitter's oversensitivity? I can't find it right now. I was trying to look for the exact words, since I know a lot of people do care about exact wording a lot of time. But all I know is that he was giving an explanation of the situation, because if that tweet exists, it's gone. I mean, there's no way to access it, because the way typically that suspension works is that they get rid of the tweet that is in question. But the last tweet that was sent by Gary was just spoke with Az. His appeal was declined, and his ban from Twitter is permanent. And my guess is, because I know it had something to do with him explaining the situation. Let me try and see if I can find. Yeah, so all that he did was he translated from Bravosi and said, all men must die. So this is what happened to Az. From Game of Thrones to the quote-unquote She-Hulk picture. He already had priors, and Gary is suspended for 7 days. So if he gets hit again with anything else, he's gone for good. So Gary is 1 away from a permaban. So he's right now suspended for 7 days, but Gary is also one thing away, essentially, from being permabanned, which, again, is a completely ridiculous thing. But yes, from what I have seen and heard, he was explaining the situation, explaining what happened, and that is what led to his. So basically what I just said is the reason why. Explaining what happened to Az, explaining what Az said, that got him permabanned. Which, again, is completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Soul Extraction, good morning to you, Soul Extraction. Matthew Highland says, he also recently left a movie that is in production. His agent says due to family reasons. Interesting. We'll hope everything is okay. JKD Buck, it was the most secure election ever. Yes. Yes, indeed. They loved reminding us of that. And also, it's interesting, right? Now, of course, talking about some modern stuff going on too, you had that speech from Joe Biden yesterday about gun control. And in the speech, he says, you hear these people talk about, the thing, and, the thing with patriotism and thing. But if you want to overthrow the government, you would need an F-15, man. You would need nuclear weapons, man. Come on. The thing. So anyway, he was babbling along. And he's saying, okay, yeah, if anyone actually wanted to overthrow the government, guns wouldn't help. They would need nukes. They would need all this other stuff, which, hey, is very, very true. And yet, at the same time, he and his party are right now prosecuting people who, on January 6th, in their words, threatened to overthrow the government. So if the president of the United States has said, you can't overthrow the government unless you have nukes and F-15s, and last I checked, on January 6th, none of them who are being prosecuted right now had any of those things. In fact, none of them, to my knowledge, even had guns. The worst I think any of them had was maybe pepper spray or bear spray or maybe like an actual, like a stick or something at worst. If the president of the United States has said that they can't overthrow the government, you could never overthrow the government with unless you have nukes and stuff, then how in the hell can anyone justify them being prosecuted for that specific reason? If you want to get them on trespassing charges or things like that, all right. There might be an argument in certain cases. In certain cases. Specifically, anyone who broke a window, anyone that forced their way in, anyone that caused violence. I'm fine with anyone who did those things being prosecuted, because I'm not okay with any of those things. But should that person be prosecuted at the same level as the other person who was being let in through an open door by the security that was there that day? After literally one of the security officers even said, hey, I may not agree, but it's your right. I think any common sense person would say, no, they should not be held to that same standard. And also that even the people that were violent, you should get them on that. But if you try tacking on trying to overthrow the government, when even President Biden himself has said you couldn't do it, yes, it's ridiculous. Matthew Highland says Boyega hasn't tweet his November 11, 2020 been ghost on Twitter for a while. I guess you meant he hasn't tweeted since November 11th of 2020. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. JM Cruz says, how much soy does the Twitter management take in on an everyday basis to make them do dumb decisions like this? And that's the thing, too, is that a lot of it is algorithm. A lot of the times when accounts get frozen, when suspensions happen, normally it's actually done by machines. It's done by algorithms. It's done automatically because it's built into their system, because obviously you've got millions and millions of tweets being sent on a daily basis. There's no way that humans could actually cover that amount of information. And so I understand having some sense of algorithms to catch certain things. But the fact that you have, in this case with Az, a human reviewed the account and defended and confirmed the permaban. So a person choosing, again, the only way that they can justify it is if they admit they did not do any research, or if they are now saying you cannot quote anything from any book, any movie, any television series if what is in that quote is deemed to be offensive or violent. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Jeremy Swiggs tag says, Az has past offenses, but he's so inoffensive. He's always the cool head of the group. Of course, yeah. Az always has the coolest takes. He always has the most calm takes. That is for sure. No, Az does have past offenses. This is very true. That's why Gary and Az are in different situations. However, the reason for both of them being in the position that they're in, Az being permabanned on Twitter, Gary being suspended for 7 days on Twitter, is for dumb reasons. Again, quoting a book television series, saying all men must die, which is, again, a translation of a fake language from a fantasy book and television series. That's the world we live in, everybody. Gomer Kyle 79 says, I'm in Chattanooga house sitting, and I hate this 1 hour ahead time. I know I've cried about it before. Still, nice weather this week. The weather is very, very nice this week. That is very, very true. And yeah, we are the furthest western city to be in Eastern time. It is definitely a cause for it's a cause for some frustration, that's for sure. Gomer Cause 79 said, last summer didn't happen either. Now it's like, boom, it's okay to burn whole complete cities down. Oh, yeah. Isn't it amazing how the stories are coming out about how AGs across the country are dropping charges, refusing to prosecute people who rioted and looted in these so-called mostly peaceful protests that lasted for weeks and months. But one single day where you had, again, a very small portion of the much larger group that was present, that's trying to overthrow the government. That's trying to overthrow our democracy. Okay. Sure. I'm not defending anyone that did anything violent or broke anything or hurt anybody. But, come on. Rosie G12, good morning to you. Chris Mead says, sorry if this is off topic. I'm working on a series of black and white paintings of Lone Wolf and Cub, Zatoichi, and Yojimbo. Only on movie 3 of Zatoichi, but love them so far. Yeah, this is not the channel necessarily for the movie conversations, but OMB Reviews. I just put up another review from that series over there. Jeremy Swig says, so Az can't quote a book, but wasn't there a feminist actress that said that in her own words on Twitter that didn't get banned but actually praised? I don't know specifically which one you're talking about. However, yeah, the double standard is very clearly present. The double standard is very clearly there. Robot Vulcan, welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining over on Odyssey. I appreciate it. Again, make sure that y'all smash that like button on YouTube. Make sure you light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey. It means a lot. Make sure also that you put @Odin at the very beginning of your comment if you're on either platform, if you have a comment or question that you want read aloud. But Robot Vulcan, since you're here, says, I wonder how many times All Men Must Die has been posted on Twitter before, but was let go because it was said by a feminist. I would love to see the research on that. I know that there is a Twitter account, Data Racer. Some of y'all might know him. He is a very good collector of information. I would not be surprised if he's working on that right now, or if he's working on, let's see what has been allowed, what has not been a cause for people getting banned. That would not surprise me. That would not surprise me at all if he was working on that. Or if someone, at least, was working on that. Because that is something that is, I think, very important to point out. That there are so many things that are allowed on this so-called free speech platform. And yet, so many things that are not allowed for silly, stupid reasons. JM Cruz says, I guess Az is the new orange man bad on Twitter. Meanwhile, real threats and real misinformation are still being posted openly. As I said as well, you actually have, and I know that there's varying opinions on this, you have pornography that is allowed on the platform. Personally, I don't think that is something that should exist on any platform. That's me, though. I'm a Catholic. I think that that is something that should not exist. That's one of the things I like about Gab. Gab does not allow pornography on their platform. I'm okay with a decision like that, personally. But it's not even just pornography. It's that there are certain images and certain things that are allowed that even people that might be okay with it would be like, oh, why is this on the platform? Why is this allowed, but other things are not allowed? So that stuff's there. But yeah, you can't quote a book. You can't quote a television series. You can't, quote, misgender somebody, even though, or dead name somebody, even though all you're doing is stating either, one, a biological fact that cannot be denied, or two, using a name that had been a legal name prior, and so therefore, at the very least, you are providing historical reference, historical preference. It would be like trying to say that someone should be suspended on Twitter if they happen to use a name for an artist who's changed their name and don't go by that name anymore, or have legally changed their name. Let's say one day I decided to change my name from Odin to Wotan, a more traditional understanding. There's obviously various spellings when it comes to Odin, but it's where we get Woden's Day from, Wednesday from. What if one day I decided just to change it to Woden? If Twitter suspended somebody for calling me Odin after having changed my name, it's the same logic. And it's dumb. It's stupid. But yeah, those things aren't allowed on the platform. You can't do those things on the platform. And just when you thought it was a slow news week and we'd have nothing to talk about on Friday Night Tights, by the way, a little note about this week, I will not be on Friday Night Tights this week because I will be traveling to spend some time with the wife's family. And I doubt I'll be able to remote in at any point, even though obviously streams go on for a very long time. But I'll be ready if I can. I'll have at least some bare bones stuff to remote in if need be. Let's see. Jeremy Swiggs tagged and says, yeah, YouTube has nudity, but Josiah is considered harmful. Exactly. That's another great example. Yeah. YouTube has a lot of really disturbing stuff on their platform. Great example of that. There's that music video that exists out there of that so-called artist literally presenting satanic imagery, satanic symbolism, who also tried to sell shoes with human blood in them and a lot of, again, satanic imagery. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. You can have that video up. You can have that disgusting psalm, what is it called? WAP? You can have that up. No problem with that. Oh, you can have that. When you look to the standard set by modern day music videos, and it's been like this for years now, and what's allowed on the platform because it's art, because it's music, it's a music video, and so therefore it's allowed, it's promoted, etc. And yet Josiah Rises, talking about censorship here, Josiah Rises' content, he's deemed as being too problematic. He's dangerous. He's a dangerous person. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And also it shows that they have a clear ideological bent. Whenever any person that is a part of the Twitter team, anytime any of them try and argue that they are apolitical, it's complete nonsense. Whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitter, whether it's any of the major platforms, Facebook, it's incredibly clear that they have a political ideology, that they have a political bias. And their attempt to try and say they don't is ridiculous. And that's why I hope more and more states do like what Florida did. They passed a law saying that if you get censored by a social media platform, you have the right now in that state to sue said platform. So I think that if we can see that kind of movement and that kind of passion from other locations, might be going somewhere, might be getting somewhere. However, let's be honest, even though it's awesome that Florida passed that law, do not be surprised if the big tech organizations try and sue the state of Florida and try and get the Supreme Court to issue a decree saying that it is unconstitutional for them to do so. Do not be surprised if they decide to do that, because I would not be surprised if they decided to do that at all. Would not be surprised at all. 2B, what's going on? Thank you for joining over on Odyssey. Would very much appreciate y'all being over there. Indeed. Not just Twitter jail, as is permabanned on Twitter. So unless a human does actual research, which, let's be honest, you think they're going to do some actual research on Twitter? You think they're going to actually look up and put anything into context? Of course not. It's probably going to be permanent. And as I said, as is fine. As is great. As is like, I've been wanting to leave this platform for a long time, and now you've just given me a reason to, and also motivation for my followers to switch over to other platforms as well. Again, you can follow him over on his Instagram. I don't have the link anymore, but anyway, heel versus babyface on Instagram. All right, let's see. Matthew Highland tagged and says, LeBron James tried to dox a man on Twitter for saving someone's life, but the buck stops with as. Yeah, seriously. How many people are still on Twitter who have done so much worse things, like doxing people, amongst other things? Jam Cruz says, hashtag no pizza FNT. Come on, man. Family comes first, and we hope the trip goes well. Thank you. Yeah, I think on the menu tonight we do have pizza. So I might try and send some pictures to the FNT crew. That way they can share it. That way y'all can at least get your Odin pizza fix. some exclusive footage of the pizza. Orange Eye Review says, there was a Satanist that did what? Human blood in shoes? That is so many health code violations. And yet, yeah, Lil Nas. Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X. Yep. But no, that's something that should be defended. That's him expressing himself. That's his religious beliefs, and it should be defended. Oh, what if I'm a Catholic and I hold to standards that most society at this point doesn't support? Oh, no. You're hateful. You're a bigot. You can't. Sorry. Your opinions aren't allowed. Okay. Thank you. Jeremy Spick says, bloody shoes just a year ago was bathwater. This generation is stupid. They just need to lick more toilets. Oh, man. Yeah. We got a lot of issues. I will say, though, a lot of the people doing these things are not necessarily this generation that's coming up, but the previous generation. Because obviously millennials, of which I'm a part of, unfortunately. That's why I prefer to go by what am I technically, Gen Z. You had, I think, or was I no I'm Gen Y. Yeah, technically I'm a Gen Y, I think. You have the Gen Z, and then there's this brand new generation that's coming up as well. The generation right now, of which I have the pleasure of teaching, is actually a lot better. In fact, they even came out with a lot of studies saying that this is the most conservative generation coming up. And a lot of it's obviously because there's all this crazy woke stuff everywhere, and you have people like Steven Crowder that has really blown up and has really reached out to a lot of people. You have people like PewDiePie, who, even though you may not look at him as a political figure, I think because of the fact that cancel culture has gone after him so many times, and he is still the biggest channel that there is on YouTube, the biggest presence that there is, that also is helping to wake up a lot of people too. But yeah, absolutely. Gomer Kyle. Kathy Griffin is still on Twitter after the decapitation video. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think she got suspended. For that. But it was after a lot of push. It wasn't an automatic thing. And I think they went back on it eventually. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, so you can hold up a severed head of, at that time, the President of the United States. No problem. No problem, or very little problem. The account will still exist and everything like that. Oh yeah, you can do all those things. You can do every single one of those things and be totally fine. But God forbid you quote Game of Thrones. God forbid you quote Game of Thrones. Jam Cruz says, do you follow Dr. Taylor Marshall? He's a conservative theologian, also a super based as sec. I do follow him. I don't watch him as much as I used to. But I do still follow him. He does good work. Infiltration is a fantastic book that I was able to finish before the school year ended. Very, very well done. Yeah. I've just fallen behind on content, and I've been trying to push my attention elsewhere. Gen X, thank you. Okay, so I am. I don't know why I didn't think I was technically a Gen Xer. I guess I am. So I guess it's Gen Y that is a little bit better, or Gen Z that was better. I don't know. I think now they're gone into they've gone into the Greek alphabet or something like that. I don't remember. Force of Light Entertainment, hail to you. Force of Light Entertainment, thank you for stopping by. Great channel right there. We had a lot of fun a couple weeks back. I took over their show. I don't know how I did it, but I did for a short period of time. Thank you for being here, Force of Light Entertainment. Yeah, crazy stuff, and not surprising at all. Orange Eye Reviews says, the reason why there is more of a conservative youth rise is because most of the other side murdering their kids in the womb all the time did it to themselves. I think that's a part of it. I do think that is absolutely a part of it. That you do have a certain ideology that is a lot more likely to, not just that, but also to not have kids at all. Because they believe having kids is bad for the environment. Obviously, they believe that killing children in the womb is totally fine. All of those things come into it. I think that's absolutely a part of that discussion. But I think it's also because of major platforms, most especially like PewDiePie, who, again, I don't consider PewDiePie to be an incredibly conservative or Republican person, because obviously he's mostly apolitical. But the fact that cancel culture has gone after him so many times, and he's been able to expose it, and he has a massive, massive following, I think that has also had a major impact in a lot of ways. I think it's also had a massive impact. Let's see. Wakoli over on Odyssey, thanks for being here, says, Reza Azian, Sean King, and how many other actively calling for violence, but man, we need to shut him down. Yeah, seriously. People who are actively calling for violence, no problem at all. You mentioned several of them. Also, Sean King, I believe also, isn't he violating rules by impersonating? I remember that whole thing was broken down where they were able to basically show that, yeah, he's not actually African American or something like that. But yeah, isn't he impersonating somebody technically by doing that? Other than also actively calling for violence, going out into the streets, that's fine. Antifa had a presence for a long time, if not still have a presence for a long time. Tubu says, look up unsafe. This is started all in the 90s. And now in charge of schools and teaching, got all brainwashed into all of the woke that gets taught to those kids now. They've been at it for 30 years. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we've had Unsafe Space on, if that's the same group that you're talking about. Because we've had Unsafe Space on Friday Night Tights before. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of good conversations as well. But no, yeah, this has been a process. And absolutely, the infiltration into the education system has been a big part of it as well. It is pretty crazy when you think about it, of how far they have actually gotten into our education system and the impact that has had. Because absolutely that has an impact onto why there are so many people who hold to this idiotic ideology, who are more than willing to literally damage their own bodies through hormone therapy, etc., to believe lies, to deny actual biology, to deny scientific reality, to fail to understand that science and the whole concept of trust the science is settled. Anyone that says the science is settled is a moron, because that phrase goes against everything that science stands for. Anyone who says the science is settled on climate change, the science is settled on gender ideology. No. Science is constantly updating, evolving, changing. The issue is that we've now had this politicization of the science. And this has happened on both sides of the coin as well. Because you have a lot of people that will say nothing is happening. You'll have others that say, oh my gosh, we're going to die in 5 years. And then there's people like me in the middle, like saying, I think something's happening. Humans might have some influence on it, but I think that we should be allowed to make our own choices, because I don't think it's as dire as people are trying to say it is, because there is disagreement in the scientific realm on that specific topic and on that specific issue. Because, again, science is not really a thing that ever gets settled. Even the Big Bang Theory, which, remember, by the name is a theory, widely accepted by most people, even in the Big Bang Theory, you have different camps of what it means that a Big Bang had. You had, obviously, people that believe the Big Bang started with God, that God is the cause of the Big Bang. You have others that deny that. You have others that say the universe is eternal, that there has been potentially multiple big bangs and big crunches. Some say that there will be a big crunch, right? The universe will come back in on itself. There's others that say it won't, that it'll keep on expanding and break apart. There's others that say it'll last forever. I mean, there are so many different mindsets here because, again, anyone that says the science is settled doesn't know what they're talking about. Does not know what they're talking about. That phrase is the antithesis of science. If you actually look to the scientific method, what you'll see is that it's a circle. And it's a constant circle. And until something actually becomes understood as a law, which I don't remember the last time a law was declared, it's not something that happens very often in science, there's always going to be ongoing discussion. And last I heard, climate change is not something that has been declared a scientific law. And it can't be, and it won't be. The discussion will go on and will continue. But yeah, we can't have these conversations. Can't have these conversations labeled as misinformation. You got to trust the science, man. Robot Vulcan over on Odyssey says, I think part of the reason our culture is in this mess is the failure of the boomer generation to pass on tradition to my generation. They had it too easy and decided they didn't need tradition anymore. You find this a lot. I think there's a lot of truth to that because it happened in the Catholic Church. What happened in the 1960s? Vatican II. What was one of the big things that came out of Vatican II? A loss of traditional values, a loss of traditional practices, a huge loss with many no longer going to a traditional mass either. Traditional churches no longer being built either. Traditional sermons no longer being given either. And we've seen the long-term impact of that. We've seen a major long-term impact of what happened then. But it's even beyond just the Catholic Church. We've seen it also happen culturally and societally as well. When you give up on values, when you give up on a societal tradition, societal values, and you start to open yourselves up to anything goes, eventually you get to the point of, well, not everything can go. Okay, now let's say what can't go. And now all you're doing is doing exactly what you maybe used to complain about, which is shutting people down, not allowing for conversation to happen. But, all right, let us see what's going on YouTube. We do need to wrap up, though, because we are right at time. So let's see here. We got Jeremy Swiggs tagging saying, that's why I'm thankful my kids can go to my church's private school. Hey, you already have someone in the House of Representatives. This is one of the things that I was originally going to talk about today, but obviously with what happened with Az and Gary took precedent there. But someone in the House has already said, if the Catholic bishops decide to put out a statement that the president cannot receive and should be denied Holy Communion, that the church should be stripped of its tax-exempt status. Now, that is something where, personally, tax-exempt status, I'm mostly against taxes anyway. So if that were to happen, I'd be like, that's not the worst thing that could happen. But it does pave the way for something much worse, which in my opinion would be something like, oh, you can no longer have a certified school. We will now deny you the right to certification, and that would have a much bigger issue. That would have a much bigger effect. Because if you take away the certification of church schools, of private schools that hold to certain beliefs and ideologies that you now deem to be offensive and hateful and bigoted, that causes a much, much bigger problem, a much bigger issue. And that is what I am scared of, personally. And that's why I will speak out. Gomer Kyle 79. They also let people berate religious and political believers. The horrid crap they say about the FNAF guy, worse than Az's little quote. Doesn't surprise me, though, at all. They don't care. They do not care for a second. Let's see. Zelina SW, thank you for being here, says, my daughter's coworker is transgender and she is having such a hard time with the hormones and has no plans for surgery. Yeah. And it's one of those things where my heart goes out to anyone who is going through that. But they're being taught and being shown a bunch of lies. Of course she's having a hard time with the hormones. They are not hormones that are natural to their body. And thank the Lord there's no plans for mutilation. We used to all have the same idea, at least there. You shouldn't mutilate somebody or even yourself. JKDBuck76, I'm back. So we're getting cosmological. Well, we're wrapping things up now. Anytime someone says the science is settled, anytime someone says the science is settled, they've just outed themselves as a tyrant. Science is never settled. Compare astronomy in Galileo's day versus Hubble telescope. Never settled. Exactly. You can literally also look to the climate change discussion. First, it was global cooling. Then it was global warming. And now it's just climate change. Even within that specific understanding of the world, you see movement. It's just, it's insane to me that people will not accept what's right in front of them. JM Cruz says, it's been an interesting day with Az and Gary's Twitter adventures and me watching Fast 9, which I won't recommend to anyone. Game of Thrones gotta go because 11 p.m. out here. Oh, JM Cruz. Wow. Are you one of my Aussies? Or in that part of the world at the very least. Thanks for watching, dude. Appreciate it. Alex McCarthy says, I overslept and I'm okay with it. Well, I hope that you had a nice day. We are wrapping things up here. So thank you all very much for being here today. Really does mean a lot. Let me just make sure there's no one who hasn't tagged me over on Odyssey. There is not. So Odyssey fan, make sure y'all light up that fire button before the stream officially ends after the Patreon shout out, since this is a production of OMB Reviews. So again, thank you all so much for joining me today. And just as an update, Az has been permabanned from Twitter. Gary has been suspended for 7 days, but Friday Night Tights will still continue. I will not be a part of it this week because I will be traveling and I likely will not be able to remote in. But before you head out of today's stream and show, thank you all very much for supporting it. Make sure that y'all smash that like button on YouTube, light up that fire button on Odyssey. Seriously, really does mean a lot for y'all to show the love that y'all do. And y'all are fantastic. Amazing, beautiful people. Also, a shout out to Harold Francis, who I still need to put into my shout outs at the end, but with only a few days really left in June, I'll probably wait until July to add him in that official way. But thank y'all very much for the well wishes. Appreciate it. If there's a way for me to remote in, I will. But obviously, family comes first. And thank y'all very much for always understanding that. Y'all guys are amazing, beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. That's pretty much it for my stream. So that also means there will be no Saturday stream on the OMB Reviews channel, most likely. So don't expect that, and I'll post that on all the socials as well. And as always, look at the news every day in a critical and cynical fashion. And God bless. Now for a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon and Subscribestar members: Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, and rather Teresa Martin is Miss Martin Muses now, Tina Bojan, Tina B., and Washington Madranda. Thank y'all very much for being my supporters on Patreon. And to my Subscribestar peeps, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / The New Number 2, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nevanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for being my Subscribestar members. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribestar. You also get access at other tiers to things like a bi-monthly podcast, bi-weekly, twice a month podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, which is a lot of fun. There's also a tier in which you can join me once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where you all get to, at that level, join me for discussions, talk about any projects that you might be working on, or just hang out and have a good time. It's a lot of fun. And also, too, for many of those levels, you also get access to a giveaway section on the Discord server, where you get access to giveaways of things like 4K movies, digital codes, and tons of other stuff like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out the links in the description and sign up over on Patreon and Subscribestar. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.